if the Ukrainian side had, more American and Western Grad missile launchers and howitzers and heavy artillery to hit back with, that would rebalance things. And the Ukrainians are fighting very determinedly, and they're on their own territory. So that might change the course of things. Whether it would be enough for the Ukrainians really to get the Russians to turn tail and leave the territory that they have occupied since February is another matter. That's a matter for a longer and more difficult phase of the war that I suspect is yet to come.
Here's Richard Spencer with today's article. He's in Ukraine for the Times in Kyiv. Richard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Richard, tell us about your piece, please.
So I've just arrived in Kyiv actually in the last few minutes. I've been the last few days. I've been in the far east of Ukraine, where this battle for the Donbas is underway. As I'm sure you've been covering, this city of Donetsk, which the Russians are now trying to take, and a whole pocket of territory there, Ukrainian territory, is surrounded on three sides by Russian troops, and of course they are using their artillery to really grind down the defences and the towns inside this pocket. And we've been talking to civilians both inside and outside that pocket in the last few days, including people who were being taken out of their houses as the shelling destroyed their towns and indeed their houses in one case, and they are being ferried out of that pocket, and some of them have been stuck on trains to take them to safety further west in Ukraine.
Yes.
Very, very grueling accounts of what they have been through. We spoke to one family, which was who took the train from the Far East to Dnipro, a town in sort of the center east of Ukraine. That a woman standing there holding her great-grandchild, she had her daughter and two of her grandsons killed in her back garden while they were cooking food. Another elderly lady, 83, she had spent her entire life in the same village in eastern Ukraine until yesterday morning, when the village, by which time the entire village had been destroyed, including her house, and the Ukrainian army rescued her in an armored vehicle and drove her, through the shelling to safety. Yeah. Some pretty grueling accounts of what it's like to be a civilian in this area at the moment.
Oh God, those are the stories that tell you the story of the war, more so really than moving maps around a battle map. Now, is it your impression now, Richard? You're there, that the Russian, let's call it a victory, that the takeover of the region is now inevitable? And would the supply of more heavy weapons from the West, countries like America and others, would that make a difference at this point?
Yes, I think there's been a slight misunderstanding, I think, right from the beginning of the war of President Putin's goals. There's always been this kind of assumption he must have one goal or the other, and people said that he suffered this ignominious defeat when he was driven out of, when his forces were forced to withdraw from Kiev and Kharkiv, the two biggest cities in the north. The swift grab to really seize the whole country by seizing the capital failed. And from the pro-Ukraine side and the pro-Ukraine side in the West, there was a certain amount of gloating over Russia's failure. But it overlooked the fact that, Russia had managed to seize a whole swathe of territory in the south, for example, all the way along the coast to Crimea, and had made advances, pretty swift advances, though smaller, in this eastern Donbas region. Now he's now set as a minimum goal here to take these two provinces, Luhansk and Donetsk, part of which were already under Russian control effectively. And he's now well on his way to achieving that. Now, it really is a grinding war. He's concentrated all his forces on this sort of fairly small front, or a huge amount of resources on this fairly small front, and he certainly has the preponderance of artillery on his side, and that's what he's using. That's what the army is using to make these incremental gains. if the Ukrainian side had, more American and Western Grad missile launchers and howitzers and heavy artillery to hit back with, that would rebalance things. And the Ukrainians are fighting very determinedly, and they're on their own territory. So that might change the course of things. Whether it would be enough for the Ukrainians really to get the Russians to turn tail and leave the territory that they have occupied since February is another matter. That's a matter for a longer and more difficult phase of the war that I suspect is yet to come.
Richard Spencer, always good to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the programme. That's Richard Spencer, who's reporting for The Times live there from Kyiv.